is that?
At first, I thought this 1990 Jeep Wrangler had a failing intake fuel pump. Nope.
We took this Jeep to the Matt's Off-Road Games at Sand Hollow State Park in southern Utah, and we made a great video. But we ran into vacuum line issues and some pretty serious fuel system issues.
Today, it's time we fix all that.
Fred Jr. is gonna troubleshoot the vacuum line issues and our fuel system issues. And as a bonus today, I'm gonna show you my rainy day solution for the bikini top.
So now that we've established that there's no in-tank pump on this fuel tank, I still have a feeling that this is somehow vacuum related. That line's not pinched, but we're gonna follow it all the way up the frame rail and see where it goes. I think that noise was just a little bit of air seeping by the rollover vents that we have, because this tank has 2 rollover vents on top. This is our steel line, and it runs all the way back from the gas tank. And this is the vent line. Probably went to a charcoal canister, so let's pop the hood and see what's going on up here. We haven't been back under here since we got back from our trip. And admittedly, this Jeep did really well, as far as I'm concerned. It got us to where we wanted to go, and it got us back. However, as soon as we got it off the trailer, it died. So we have some other issues going on. Let's keep going, see what we can find. Now that we've figured out that we have some breather issues for our fuel tank, the first part of this process, we're gonna get the air cleaner off, see what fittings are on here, and we have some new ones, and hopefully those will work. I'm gonna run new AN line all the way from the fuel pump to the TBI unit, and then we're gonna go back to the tank and run a new breather line. And we'll stick it back by the fuel cap somewhere. That way it's in a nice, safe location. We've got some cleanup to do on this and reroute some hoses and some wiring. We're gonna use our cable tie link kit for that. Now, on the back of our TBI unit, we've got an input line and an output line. So everything from our regulator comes in. So all of our fuel comes into our regulator and then back out to the tank. So it keeps it at the right fuel pressure. We're gonna have to take the TBI unit off of this to do some work to it because I just don't like doing it on the vehicle. Let's disconnect some of these sensors and plugs. Let's unbolt this TBI and get it off of here. All right, our 2 fuel lines have been disconnected. Got what's left of our brittle vacuum hose that goes to the distributor. Take those off. Wiggle, wiggle. And that's got all of our lines disconnected. Looks like we got a couple bolts on here. Let's unbolt this thing. I'm still really impressed with how this thing performed. It gave us some issues, but nothing overwhelming. I get the Jeep dream. I don't know that I'm still a Jeep guy. When you have the top off and you're just having a good old time out in the desert, that's where this thing really shines. Driving it down the highway, not my thing. I've had trucks that ride rough. Driving this Jeep down the highway is like driving a tin can around. I'm not saying that there isn't a place for it and it's not fun, and I'm sure I'll get some hate for it, but I still don't know that I'm a Jeep guy. However, this one is winning me over. See? Tappy tappy. Let's get our throttle cable off of there, and this thing should be ready to come out. This Jeep should be named MacGruber instead of the GIY Jeep, because there's a lot of stuff that's been MacGrubered. Now we've got our TBI unit out of here. On the back of the unit, there's a vacuum port. That vacuum port right there is not plugged. Killing me, Smalls. Now, on our TBI unit, there's 2 barb fittings on here, and quite clearly, they've been leaking. All right, our AN fittings that we have are the wrong size. Sourcing local ones today isn't gonna happen, but we still need to get this Jeep up and running. We're gonna get some fuel injection hose from O'Reilly's when they open, and we're gonna keep moving on because we still have other issues to figure out today. Get our new vacuum line situated and get a new vent line for the tank and see how this thing runs. I have a suspicion that we had so much pressure in that tank that it just wasn't letting the fuel return to the tank. Maybe we'll get lucky and we don't even need a fuel pressure regulator. The next order of business is to get our new fuel vent line routed. This tank already has 2 rollover valves on top, so I'm not concerned about putting one on the end of this line, but I want to get it routed to a safe place, and for that, I'm going to route it up by the gas cap. Anyway, let's feed our new vent line down and see where we can get it to. We're back up under here with our vent line. That's our old one, and we have a new one. It's snaked up through here. Get our connector twisted in there, and we're just going to use the existing line from on top of the tank because there's no need to change that. I'm not sure how well it comes through on camera, but you can see in there's some other vent line back there. We're just going to pull ours through and zippy our vent line to that, because if it was good for one, it's good for more than one. That's our new vent line in there, and you can see we've just looped it and zip tied it to the breather line for the rear axle. That's up and away, and I'm not too worried about anything getting in there. So I think this is a good win. Let's put this back together. I know a lot of this could have been avoided, and this vent line being plugged wouldn't have been an issue if I could have found a vented gas cap, but unfortunately, I couldn't find one. If you know where to find one, please leave one in the comments, because man, that would have been good to know. Now that that has our tank vent situated, let's
put the license plate back on this thing and put our TBI unit back on. Just from looking around up here, looks like we had some wiring that got a little hot too. I'm gonna clean up some of this wiring and get some of these fuel lines ran in a more proper way. Something that looks nice, clean, and sanitary. And I'm gonna keep it all together with the cable tie link kit. This is a pretty sweet kit, and I'm curious to see how well it'll work in this. I wanna tuck back some of this wire loom, get some of this cleaned up, and I think this is the way to go. All right, we've got our throttle body sitting back up here. I'm really curious to see how well this thing runs. Not having open vacuum lines, getting everything corrected on that end, and resetting some timing. I think the pressure from that tank not being vented was so much that it just couldn't return the fuel to the fuel tank and was flooding the motor pretty bad. All things considered, I'm just impressed that this thing continued to run. I've got my 1/8" hose back here. According to what I could find on the internet, this plug back here for the vacuum line was supposed to be for a map sensor. And wouldn't you know it, we have a map sensor. So, gonna use that for the map sensor. And we're gonna plug up some of these front lines and get rid of the hose that we had to make do with. I'm gonna get rid of some of these old school zip ties, hide some of these wires. It looks like we're missing a couple brackets and some questionable cover-up work when they did the TBI conversion. While I'm waiting on some of my fuel lines to show up, I've been working on some of this conduit, wrapping this back up, making it look nice. I'm gonna get it attached back to the firewall using our cable tie link kit. I like these because when I need to get into that wiring harness, I can take that off of there and I'm not worried about cutting zip ties and everything else. But I found a cool attachment in here. These are a little bulkhead attachment. I've got a few of these screwed right here to the firewall, and we're gonna tie back this wiring harness with it. And I can use a cable tie link to get our map sensor put where it needs to be so it's mounted in the right direction. And the really cool part that I like about this system with the cable tie links is they're reusable. So when you've decided that you wanted to run the wire a different way or add something else into there, you don't have to cut the tie. You just hit the tab and it comes right out and you can add more into it. I'll keep those up there. And now that's got that one tied back against the firewall as well. So when you need to get in and out of there, still not a problem. I think this has been my favorite part of this cable tie kit so far, the cable tie link. This thing right here lets you do some really cool stuff with these cable ties. Like my map sensor here, for example. I have this wiring loom up here attached with a cable tie and one of their anchors. Also, my map sensor, I wasn't quite sure what to do with this thing because it needs to be mounted in a downward direction. I used a cable tie link and a couple of these cable tie straps to make sure this thing is in the downward position, and I'm not worried about it going anywhere. That's pretty slick. Little wiring montage. We've got all of our wiring tied back up here. This cable tie link kit has earned its money yet again today. I'll make sure that I leave a link for this kit in the description below so you can check out the cable tie link kit too. Let me give you a quick recap of where we're at. Initially with this, I wanted to run AN line all the way from the fuel pump up to the TBI. But it turns out for the AN fittings, you need the adapters for the normal GM steel lines that we don't have on this TBI unit. It has barbs that are specially designed to fit in there, so we're gonna put the correct line in. I've got some heavy duty fuel injection line, some 3/8 line that I got from O'Reilly's, and I'm gonna run this back to our fuel pump, instead of just jamming on the 5/16 line like they did. However, to get the 3/8 line onto the fuel pump, I need a 10mm barb that goes to a 3/8 instead of the 5/16. That is not something I can get in town, but thanks to Amazon, I can have it first thing in the morning. We can fire this thing up and set the timing. But in the meantime, I'm gonna get all these fuel lines routed, so all I have to do is put this barb back in the morning. We're back out here first thing in the morning. We've got our fitting. Let's get this fitting put on and fire this Jeep up so we can set the timing and go out for a ride. Get our little fitting screwed in here. I like that it came with a new crush washer, that's always helpful. It is aluminum, so I'm not trying to get super crazy with it. Let's mark our line. It's a very scientific line mark here. All right, she's cranked on there. And I think that's a wrap. This thing's ready to fire up and set the timing. Let's see what it does. Fires right up, that's good. Hal says they want between 6 and 8 degrees of timing on this, so let's take a look at this. It's a little high still. Let's bump it back a little more. It's got it right at 6 degrees of timing. Sounds pretty good too. Let's get it tightened down and let's go for a drive. This thing runs stronger than it was before. I wish we would have had this much power at Sand Hollow. But I'll chalk this up as a win. Granted, it's not super hot out yet, but we'll see what happens there. This thing idles down nice, pulls nice. This is arguably the best thing this has ran in 10 years. Girl likes to go. Fuel and vacuum, donezo. If you're still watching this video, thank you. Make sure you hit that button and subscribe so you don't miss any of our new Jeep content.
Now I'm going to show you guys how I made this rainy day bikini top cover. I love the bikini top on the Jeep, but I also want to keep the weather out of this thing when we have it in storage. I've come up with an idea. I picked up some 2-inch PVC and some fittings. I'm going to build a frame back here, and then I'll be able to use my weather cover. Let me show you how we're going to do this. I am not planning on gluing this thing together because I want to be able to break it down and take it with me when we travel to different places. So I'm just gonna sand my edges so that the fittings will slide together nice. Let me get all the pieces cut and then I'll show you guys how I'm gonna put this thing together. Back here on each corner, I am going to use a 32-inch leg, and I've got this 3-way. And I also picked up these little feet on Amazon. And if I want to screw it down, I'll be able to, but I don't think I'm gonna. I think I'm just gonna pop it all together. My next piece is 48 inches. That's gonna be my cross member here on the back. Let me get this guy inserted into this 3-ways. The cross member that's gonna lay up here is 48 inches. And then I've got two 32-inch pieces that are going to go back this way. And then we're going to use these 90-degree elbows. And that's what it's going to look like all put together. And my plan here is for this to just lay on the roof and then connect here to the back. Let's throw the cover on there and we'll just see what this looks like. I might shrink this down a little bit, but I think this is pretty much the idea that I had. Well, what do you guys think? I think it looks pretty good. There's the top, there's the back. Now, I do think that it is a little tall and I'm probably gonna end up cutting this thing down just a little bit, but I think this is gonna work out just fine.
We still have tons of projects left this summer with this Jeep and a couple trips to make sure that we trail test them.
Check out some of the other videos that we've made with this Jeep, and until then, thanks for watching.